You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 6. Well, today I think is something really important that we should all be talking about. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised that I've managed to get to episode 6 without talking about it. And that is collaboration. Now, I am hugely pro collaboration. And if you've been in the Small and Supercharged group or you have seen me on social media, you'll know just how pro I am. And I just think it has huge amounts of value for everybody that takes part. My last TEDx talk that I gave at TEDx Telford at the end of September, fingers crossed that will be on the TEDx YouTube channel soon, was actually all about collaboration. It was called Killing It with Creativity and Collaboration, because I just think that it's so important. So in the talk, I talked about how the algorithm for Facebook changed in January this year, and they were looking to promote more genuine and authentic connection. The idea being that that would help improve the lives, essentially, of the people that use the platform. And because of that, the people were going to be less exposed to business pages and things like that to help foster this genuine connection and this engagement with their friends and family. Now, of course, this is a bit of a tricky one if you are a business because you have a Facebook page, but I kind of think it was an opportunity because if you look at what Facebook's trying to achieve, we should all be looking for that anyway. Because the beauty of social media is that we can be sociable, we can chat to our customers, we can get to know them, we can build loyalty, we can get them as friends. And to be fair, I know my customers are great friends. So I'm not saying it in a kind of false way at all. It's a really valuable thing if you can do it. Now, there's lots of ways you can foster this kind of engagement, which obviously we'll talk about in future podcasts too. But one way is through working with people. So collaboration. Now, as I record this, and when you hear it, it'll have finished. But there was a brilliant example last week on Instagram where Karen McConnell, who's a great friend, who's Karen and Clan, did a collaboration with Hi-Ho Silver, Fairfax and Favour, and Morris Richardson Watches, where she ran a giveaway on her page, on her Instagram feed that involved all 3 brands working together. And it was superb. So all the brands benefited from what I can see. I know the ones that I'm involved with did. Obviously, the winner will be thrilled because the prize is amazing. It's a Hi-Ho Silver cherry roller with a pink bling bead, a Morris Richardson watch with a pink tweed strap, and a pair of the Fairfax and Favour tassels that we talked about in the last podcast. So it's an amazing prize. But the beauty of this collaboration, if you think about it, is that all of those brands got exposure, as did the person who ran the collaboration. The only cost was the product. Whether or not the companies chose to advertise is completely on them, or whether or not Karen did is completely on her. I don't know the ins and outs of it all. But the actual cost, the actual thing it's going to cost everybody is time and product. And the amount of traction you can get from that is huge. So in my TEDx talk, I gave the example of cheese and pickle, and you might have seen this on my Instagram feed about finding the cheese to your pickle, which just sounds really weird anyway, but I loved it. So my point was, if you have a brand that works really hard, has got a really engaged audience, that post really good pictures, really good captions, put a lot of effort into their content and to fostering this really nice following and really nice audience, and they made something like pickle, but we could put a different product in, that's brilliant, and they've done really well. But if they were to work with somebody who had a completely complementary product, and in this example I went cheese, they could actually start to educate each other's audiences about their product at the base level, but they could do so much more as well. So let's not go cheese and pickle, because if you watch the TEDx video, you'll just feel like that's all I can think about, which, I do like food, I'll be honest. But, it could work really well with equestrian. It could be someone that makes boots and someone that makes other riding apparel. It could work well with any business out there if you think of your business now, whether you're a service, an experience, or a product provider, think about what you sell and think about what kind of businesses would complement it. Have a little ponder. So again, I'm looking around the office now and I've got some grooming products here. So if you make grooming products, maybe you could collab with either somebody who was also involved in the grooming industry, and maybe they did hoods and rugs for horses to help keep them clean. Maybe the collaboration could be things like clipping suits to help keep your horse looking polished, because the chances are if people are buying higher end grooming products, they're probably going to be interested in keeping their horse looking absolutely amazing, and they could well be interested in showing. So that's a really good idea. Another thing I've got around the office is a worm count kit, which you might think, oh, interesting. How are you going to collaborate with that? Easy. So if someone is purchasing a worm count kit for whatever animal, they're clearly interested in their animal's welfare. And that opens up a lot of other opportunities. So maybe you work with a feed company, because if you're going to the effort to worm count your horse, you are clearly interested in its welfare. And therefore, you'd probably be more interested in its feeding. So maybe it's a nutritionist consultation, or maybe it's some remote thing like that. Or maybe, do you see where I'm going with this? Otherwise, I'll have to just go around the whole of the blooming office. I am literally going around the office now looking at things that I've got on show. But okay, I've got a candle here as well. So this is a completely, well, actually, it's a rather beautiful Albion candle. Side note, if you haven't smelled, this is hang on, okay, I don't know which one it is. It's a luxury candle. It smells divine. I haven't burnt it yet, but it just wafts its loveliness around the place. So if you are a candle company, you're thinking someone's lighting a candle is probably doing it to relax, probably doing it at the end of the day, clearly likes nice scents, likes a little bit of luxury. You can work with that. If you make candles or anything like that, maybe team it with a pair of, luxury socks, or maybe sort of hot chocolate mugs, little self-care things. I feel like I've gone on about this, but I want to say that whatever you're in, whatever business you're in, whatever product you make, whatever service you provide, there will be a service that complements what you do. So don't think, oh, I can't do that. You blooming well can, and you should. There you go, you've been told. So look for people who are doing really well on social media. So look for the brands that complement yours, that have your same ethos as well. This is a really important point. So if you are a brand who is completely cruelty-free, and your customers are one of the issues, which is always a real contentious one, is say fur. So some people are very, very pro-fur. Some people are very, 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 very anti-fur. Even if all the other boxes were ticked, a pro-fur and an anti-fur company wouldn't work well together, because the issue that separates them is such a big one for so many of their customers, and they're likely to alienate each side. So make sure, that's quite an extreme example. Not that many people sell fur nowadays, but you can see where I'm getting at. So make sure that they align with you, not just in terms of the product, and make sure that complements you, but in terms of their values and their ethos too. So maybe you're really, really pro British manufacturer over everything else, and they're not. That doesn't have to be a deal breaker at all, but you just need to be aware of it. Forewarned is forearmed and all that. You also want to make sure your audiences align. There should probably be some kind of crossover, because that would prove you're on the right track, but it's very difficult to know that. But even if there isn't a physical crossover, it could be because people don't know about the product. So don't overthink that. But really, you want to make sure they have either a similar or bigger audience to you, ideally, because you want to get the extra traction. However, I'm not against working with smaller brands as well, because if you have someone who's either a new brand and they're really proactive, that can do more than a big brand that isn't. So don't always judge it just on the size, but be aware that you don't want somebody with 2 followers if you've got 10,000, because you're probably not going to benefit from that. Because the other point is there has to be something in it for everybody. So if you've got the smaller following, maybe you take a bigger lead on the content creation or the idea or running it, and you put your effort in that way. So although you have got the smaller following, you are making up for it in another way. You need to make up for it, but I just think it really was all about give and take, and you need to make sure everyone's getting value out of what they're doing. Now, the great thing is when you found the people to work with, you don't have to be just limited to something obvious or straightforward, but equally you can be. So the world really is your oyster. You can do whatever you like. So one example could be a giveaway like we discussed earlier. That was quite straightforward in terms of everyone could understand it really easily. Everyone made quick wins and quick gains. Brilliant. I mean, who doesn't love something like that? But you could do more with a giveaway. You could do more after a giveaway. So you could create content. You could do photo shoots with different brands. You could do videos where you both, share the screen and chat about specific things. Again, it depends on the personality of the brand. If you're both a bit quirky, then use that to your advantage. You could do a podcast. You could do live videos. You could do in-person videos if you're not that far away. You could do, going back to the cheese and pickle example, you could do kind of taste testing. Or going back to the grooming example, you could do videos together where you show the products and the whole kind of journey of the product and what you're using it for, with a horse using the product, then putting the other product on and explaining how it all works and why. With a candle, maybe you could do how to make the best hot chocolate recipe in the world, or a kind of, relaxing tunes and podcasts. So you don't have to be conventional, and I'd urge you not to be, but I would urge you to really make sure it's easy for people to get involved and people to understand, because I've seen some giveaways on Instagram particularly, and you would need some high level degree to even enter the competition, let alone win it. So make sure that if you're doing any kind of collaboration, you should be able to explain it to, I reckon, a 5-year-old, and they should go, yeah, I get it. And I think that's really important, because we overcomplicate things to tick all these boxes. And then what happens is no one enters because no one understands what on earth we're going on about. So simplicity is good, but don't be limited. I mean, simplicity is doing a video together. There's nothing at all wrong with that. Simplicity is working together on a recipe, or doing a video, doing a podcast, doing an audio thing, or even running an event together. That's quite simple to understand. Because although I've talked about working with one person, you can work with many. And I think that is perhaps where sometimes it becomes a bit more complex, depending on what you decide to work on. So if you had a competition, for example, and you had 10 brands involved, and you wanted all the 10 brands to benefit, that could be quite a difficult entry criteria for somebody if they had to go off and, like or comment or whatever on all these different 10 platforms. It could become quite labor intensive, and you won't hurt your following maybe, but you definitely, I would suggest that the growth will be limited for everybody because it's difficult to get involved. So I think be really aware of that. The last thing I want to talk about is the cost, because the beauty of collaborations, and I mean this, in capital letters, is they don't have to cost you anything. They're going to cost you time. So when I say anything, they're not going to cost you physical pound notes. They're going to cost you time. They're probably going to cost product if you do a giveaway or a competition. But if you compare that cost versus the cost of an advert in a magazine, they won't even be on the same page. And the beauty is you can track it quite easily. You can see the increase in fans, the increase in likes, the kind of comments you're getting, the kind of reactions you're getting, which is something you don't really get in printed media. And I do think that's really exciting. You've also got the ability to potentially expand what you're doing in a massive way, because if people get hold of your collaboration and share it and share it and share it and share it, you have the potential for this to go viral. And that is completely the sweet spot and what we're all aiming for with any campaign we run, to be quite frank. Well, what we'd all like. So don't be limited, but give it a go. The other thing is how to speak to these people, how to find the, let's go cheese to your pickle, because it was a blooming good one. You need to put time into finding them. So follow them on social media, like and comment on their content. Actually get to know them. And this is an important thing for you, because you want to make sure that they really do align with your brand, not just their external, what they think people want to see, but actually the nuts and bolts of it. Do they respond back to comments? Are they cheery and jolly when they do this, as in to match their persona that they've put out there, or are they actually a bit grumpy? Make sure you get to know them properly. Make sure you show your support of them by liking, commenting, sharing, retweeting, whatever, depending on the platform, and get to know them. Do this before you make your approach and your grand gesture. But equally, don't be afraid to make that approach when you put the effort in, because the beauty of a collaboration is there is something for you in it for you, but there's something in it for them as well. And a good, well-structured, well-thought-through collaboration is something that I honestly think nobody should be turning down. It has the ability to reach the exact target market you want, and also forming better connections for you too. How cool is that? So I would urge you to get out there and have a go at collaborations. It's a great time of year to do it as well, with Christmas coming up. It's a really good plan. It's a really good way to promote your businesses and to boost what you're doing so people get to see more of you. Well, I am going to love you and leave you. A big thank you for all your lovely comments on the last podcast we did, which was with Lucy Robinson from Fairfax and Favour. Really, really appreciate that. If you haven't listened, please do go and have a listen. It's all about the breast cancer care tassels. And I'm really excited to see what total they get to. Next week's episode is going to be another guest one, a really good guest for you, and then we'll back to me again. But thanks so much. Obviously, if you've got any comments about the podcast, please do send me a message. Please do drop me an email. And if you fancy leaving a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening, I'll send you a virtual kiss, which isn't half as bad as it sounds. But thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch up next week. Take care.